A number of questions have come up recently about domestic CCTV, Ring cameras, Nest cameras, and simply capturing video footage at your front door, outside your house, or around your house premises. So I thought I'd run through very briefly what the law entails in this area, and there has been a recent court case with a Ring device which I went into great detail with, which I will link in the description below, but this was primarily focusing on the way that people were behaving rather than simply capturing the footage. Although capturing footage did feature as a big part of the case, but it was more the extent of the footage that was captured and what the people did with it. So welcome back, I'm the Black Belt Barrister, helping you to understand law, and in this video talking about CCTV systems at your domestic home premises. So more and more people are now buying CCTV to protect their home, to protect their front door, and just to see when someone's coming to the door when they're not at home. If you're thinking of using one or you are using one, you need to think about what I'm saying in this video, because this might apply to you. So what do we mean by a private domestic property? Fairly simply, this means the outer boundary of your property, including the garden of where you live. So when it comes to CCTV, what matters is whether your device captures images and sound, remember, outside the boundaries of your domestic property. For example, your neighbour's property, public streets, footpaths, and frankly any area outside of your property. If it does, then you may be subject to data protection laws, depending on what that device captures. Now, as some have said recently, they are worried that they are breaking the law because they are capturing people outside of their boundary. Now, that's not necessarily true. Just because you are capturing something outside of the bounds of your property does not automatically mean you are breaking the law. It does mean that you should think of the extent of footage that you're going to capture outside the boundary, which I'll come back to in a moment, but it also means that you are subject to data protection laws and you are a data controller for the purposes of the legislation, which means you need to comply with the legal obligations of a data controller under data protection laws, but you do not need necessarily to register with the ICO, although of course you can if you wish to. If you are capturing any imagery outside of the boundary of your property, then you will need to put up a sign to let people know that you're recording and why you're recording, if that is practicable. And most importantly, you should not capture anything which is beyond what you really need to achieve the purpose of your system. If you're trying to check whether someone is coming over your wall, then the very edges of the wall should be sufficient to capture that person, not a third of your neighbour's garden. And when it comes to sound, do you really need the sound? Because if your device is capturing the sound from your neighbour's garden, that might amount to harassment of your neighbour, because it will interfere with the quiet enjoyment of their property on an ongoing basis, which is an invasion of privacy, which might amount to harassment if it's an ongoing thing. Again, more about that in the Ring case video, which is in the description below. And then when it comes to footage, most devices store it in the cloud, although I have one CCTV system which is stored on a secure hard drive and backed up to the cloud, but either way you need to make sure that this is stored safely and deleted regularly so that it's not kept any longer than you actually need it. And I'm sure it goes without saying that you should not misuse any of the data that you capture. You shouldn't be posting it on social media, you shouldn't be sending it to anybody, and you certainly shouldn't be using it to harass anybody. Again, see the video linked in the description. You will also need to respond to subject access requests if you receive any. It's unlikely, but you might receive one. You see, individuals will have a right to access their personal data if you are storing it, if it's capturing them beyond the boundary of your property. And if you fail to comply with any of these obligations, you may well be breaking data protection laws, and you may be subject to enforcement action of the ICO, and you might be fined. Individuals could also pursue court claims for compensation through the courts, as again I've talked about in the video below. When thinking about the areas that your device captures, think about restricting certain parts of it if it doesn't need to record that area, maybe turning off the sound if that's possible, and maybe using motion detection areas so that it only activates when someone enters an area that you need to record. This is so that you are not recording anything beyond that is necessary for the purposes of installing it in the first place. So please do share this video with someone that has a camera and you are worried about whether they are breaking the law in this regard. Please give the video a like, remember to subscribe, and thanks for watching.